One, 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 one. Welcome to the one-on-one. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to the one-on-one. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to one-on-one at Legacy Maker Sports Network.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We are here for episode 102 of 101 here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network. This one we have coming for you today is long overdue. If you saw that gorgeous, handsome young man at the beginning there and our and on our graphic there, my man, Mr. Marc Davis. Glad to have you with us today, Marc. It is an absolute pleasure. Known Marc for a long time, probably about 6-7 years now. We're held together by a common bond. Go Owens. And so Marc is the sports director for WTKR CBS 3 in the Hampton Roads area. Marc, how are you doing, brother? Glad to have you on.
Hey, man, thanks, Darrell. I appreciate you having me. And you know what? I saw those guys you had in your intro, and I'm like, how did I sneak in here? I don't know. There must have been some error or mistake here. But no, I appreciate having me on, man. It's great to finally sit down and be able to chat some sports with you.
Yeah, man. You know, it's funny because, like, you know, for the backstory on this, y'all, like, me and Marc have been talking about this for years. And then, you know, Marc moved a little bit further down south here from the Richmond area. And then we finally got a chance to say, all right, it's got to happen this year. So we finally got it here in season 4, but definitely glad to have Marc on. Now, before we get rocking and rolling, y'all know how we do here on 101. And we're going to start off with the check-in. Look, with the check-in, we just want to check in on you. Your family, your friends. How are things with Marc Davis right now?
Yep, things are great. Things are busy. You know, we talk about the summer, and the summer is kind of our downtime where not much is going on. So, you know, Zach and I and our sports office are actually pretty fired up now that we're starting to get some content again. Obviously, you and I bumped into each other up in Ashburn at Commanders training camp last week. High school football starting up, so we have all that going on. College football camps are underway. So, you know, I'm preaching to the choir here, I know, but just, you know, it's that time of year where we look at our wives, fiancés, significant others, kids, and say, see you guys in December.
Right. And so, like, and that's funny you say that because I told my wife, I said, the busy season is approaching. She was like, what do you mean? I said, baby, it's probably going to be about March or April before we kind of slow down here. So, you know, the busy season is here. And that started last week at ACC Media Day for myself. And from that point on, it just won't stop rolling. I got a little break coming up. Me and Marc talked before going to Disney World this week. So just a precursor, no one-on-one next week. We'll be back the following week. But like I said, I'm just glad to have you on, man. And it's absolutely a pleasure. But let's go ahead and get into it. Let's find out. Let's dig a little bit into Marc Davis and find out who he is. So let's start off with our first one. Marc, where did your passion for sports come from? When you were 7, 8, 9 years old, where did little Marc was like, man, this is why I want to do sports. Okay. Where did that passion come from?
Yeah, you know, it was always a common bond, but especially baseball was a common bond between my dad and I. And, you know, we always were watching sports, baseball, football, you know, basketball, stuff like that. I think baseball is what really drove me home. I went to my first Major League Baseball game when I was 8 years old to see the Brewers play the Orioles at Old Memorial Stadium in Baltimore. And just being there at a Major League Baseball game, I was hooked. I was hooked on just being at the ballpark. I was hooked on the atmosphere, hooked on seeing the guys up close. And, you know, that's where I think my love of baseball came. As far as what I'm doing now, I think I was a track and cross country guy all through high school and college. But, you know, anything else I really wasn't good at. And once I figured that out, I thought talking about it was the next best thing. So, you know, it gives you a chance to keep your foot in the door of your passion and stuff, which is sports.
Right.
And, but that's where I got my start. I mean, when like you said, Darrell, 7, 8 years old, you know, just being able to chat with my dad and kind of having that common bond where we were always talking about sports.
Yeah, it's crazy how it works. I used to tell people, they was like, well, what about you? Like, for me, it was always, and I don't know how you feel about this, but it was like, wake up, Sports Center.
Yeah.
Run through the day, get home from school, Sports Center.
Yeah.
Come back through Sports Center. And it was just like, and it just soaked you in, Stuart Scott, the Rich Eisens, the Dan Patricks, Linda Cohn, I can go on and on. But that's what kind of drew me in initially. And then, like, from that point on, I lived, breathed, and slept, anything that was sports from that time on, watching the draft at an early age. It was just like 9 years old, 1993 draft, Rick Meyer Incorporated.
Well, do you remember a sick day, Darrell? Like when you were homesick from school, right? You'd watch Sports Center like back to back to back. Then maybe you'd flip it over for like The Price is Right at 11 o'clock. Then you'd flip back for more Sports Center and whatever ESPN had on. But yeah, I was the same way, man. Just like get me on Sports Center, because they were pumping out highlights of all the games, and it wasn't so much back and forth. It was just straight sports, which I loved.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, and I'm pretty sure it felt the same way for yourself. It was like, all right, I want to be the smartest guy at the lunch table.
Yep.
And when people say, "Oh man, they have a sports take," it's like that what they call them takes now. But when they have a sports situation going on, and they were like, "Oh, is this?" I'm like, no. That is not what that is. So and so did this. So and so did. Had to be the know-it-all when it came to sports. But that's how sports can take you from time to time.
Yeah, my parents were always, my mother especially, was always dumbfounded how I could remember, World Series winners and sports stats, but couldn't remember to, do whatever instruction she had given me, earlier that day.
It's funny how it works. And people are like, oh, when so-and-so was drafted? Oh, yes. It was this, It was then, it was that. So like, how do you remember that? I watched the entire draft. And don't ask me why I would remember some people and some people I wouldn't, but most of the time I was in there. All right, so let's kind of go. And now you talked about how you had to find a way to keep talking about sports. Obviously, take us on your journey through college. What gave you that itch and said, you know what, I want to do sports journalism. I want to be a journalist, sports director, a man that does it all. But kind of give us like that journey about what college and took you through that. Excuse me, I can't get my words out. But kind of take us on that journey through college and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, sure. So I went to Shippensburg University, which is up in Pennsylvania, Division II athletics. And like I said, I was doing cross country and track up there. So just competing on a sports scene, at the Division II level was awesome. Making lifelong friends and teammates and everything like that. But majored in communications journalism and emphasized broadcast media. And then, my internship I got with a really good friend of mine at the CBS affiliate in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and was able to be kind of embedded in a sports department so I can see kind of behind the scenes, and that really intrigued me. And then I was a news photojournalist for a year at that same station. Then I got my first sports gig in Charlottesville, Virginia, obviously, in May of 2005. So, and then ever since then, it's just kind of taken off. Why do I do this? At first, it's, hey, I want to talk about all these cool things and all that. But, as I shortly after I got into it, what really jumped out at me was the ability to kind of see athletes as people, Yeah. You get a chance to see up close and personal behind the scenes stories. And one of my favorite things to do right now is actually find those stories of the athletes. Right now, we're seeing our business kind of get away from what it used to be, which was, scores and highlights and everything like that. And, but I really, for one, really enjoy being able to learn more about the athletes as people, and tell those stories. Even, down here, the athletes in our community, at the high school level, and stuff like that. I mean, that's really fun, all the way up to commanders getting up there. Yeah, we're telling some of the X's and O's, but at the same time, what is it about these guys that, we can relate to our viewers? A lot of those guys go through the same things or have gone through the same things that you and I go through. So, it's one of those things where, what's kind of behind the scenes. And what I enjoy a lot is kind of lifting the curtain for people to show them those behind the scenes. So,
yeah, it's crazy because I think when we got started, it was always for me, like, you heard so much negativity about players, coaches, whatever it was. It like you said, everything kind of shifted from when we were growing up, sports, I mean, it had a little bit of the negativity. I mean, you got to talk about it. It's news. So, I mean, certain things. But now they focus so much on the negativity, and it takes away the fun of just having that sports knowledge, knowing your craft. And to me, there's some people out here, and I'm not ashamed how I got my start. I knew, social media was a gem for me.
Yeah.
But I've always looked at it like I want to do it the right way. And if social media is a way for me to kind of get there, but still do it the right way, then that's the way I want to do it. But now you got people out here that everybody wants to be Stephen A. Everybody wants to be Skip. And so, or Shannon Sharp, whoever it may be. And I think that does take away a little bit from what, people like yourself who've worked so hard to get to where you are. And it takes away from that, the hard work that people have done in that perspective.
Well, I agree with that. And so much nowadays, what we're seeing in not just sports journalism, but journalism in general is look at me, look at me. And I come from kind of a strong belief of never make yourself the story. It's not my job to be, flashy in your face, giving you what I think, all this stuff like that. Sometimes we can be a little bit more liberal with that just because we're, sports people and sports is fun. It should be. But I'll die on that hill in terms of not making myself the story. I don't it's kind of gross to me. And if that's and if that's other people's, no offense to anybody who, that's the whole thing about our business, right? It's subjective. Everybody has a different opinion. That's totally fine.
Right.
For me though, yeah, definitely. I mean, like, I just, I kind of have a strong belief that, put your effort and your hard work and everything like that into somebody else, into telling the story of somebody else and everything like that. You can show personality and still not make it about you. And I think walking that fine line is what you got to do. So that's just my opinion.
I can feel you 100% on that, Mark, like to the T. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing about it. There's so many people that just want to be about, it doesn't have to be about you.
Right.
You can still make an impact. And people, look, if you're doing it right, it's going to be about you in some form.
Yeah, exactly.
But you don't have to show it. But hey, look, to each his own.
You're exactly right.
To each his own. So now you're at the Hampton Roads area. You used to be at NBC 12, which was where we got a chance to meet. How are things down in the Hampton Roads area? You have a spot where some of the greatest athletes in the world come out of, and how's that going for you down there at Hampton Roads?
Oh, it's going great. We love it. We love it down here. My station really gives me a chance to do sports in the way that I want to do it. We can. It's great because we're all on the same page. Management, me, everything like that, in terms of kind of intertwining our sports coverage into what our overall content strategy is for the station, and everybody's vision lines up, which is great. The beach is 30 minutes from my front door. Not a bad gig.
Not at all.
So I'll take it. Right. And still less than 2 hours away from Richmond, so we can get back there. A city that I really enjoyed being a part of for 10 years. But yeah, it's going great down here. We're trying to build something, and I have no plans on going anywhere. So we really like it down here. We're really settling into the community and get a chance to be a part of it. I live in Chesapeake, which is it's one of the 7 cities down here that's the main spots, and we border Norfolk and Virginia Beach. So yeah, but we're really liking it down here. It was definitely a move that I think benefits us a lot.
I'm so glad to hear that. I'm glad to see that things are going extremely well for you, brother. And I knew they were. I mean, you, like I said, one of the best guys I know in this industry. You could have easily. And I say this, you could have easily like turned a blind eye to me when we first met. You can be like, look at this guy. Who is this guy? But you never treated me that way. You treated me like an equal. And I feel like, you gave me a chance to be an equal. That's why I've always appreciated, yourself, Sean Robertson, guys like that. Sean did my first ever episode of 101 back in 2020. And
he was episode 1, really?
He was episode 1. He doesn't know he's probably making a return appearance. But I would, if he's watching now, then you'll know. But if not, I'm gonna be talking to you soon, Sean. But yeah, he was on the very first episode, and you guys embraced me, and I've always been like extremely appreciative of that because it's hard, especially when you have people that don't really, they're just in it I'm going to the game for free. It's not all about that. So I've always appreciated that, brother. Always.
Oh man, no, and hey, I mean, love what you guys do, right? I mean, and your staff is always so friendly. Whoever I run into at any game where I go, I mean, it's great. And I'll tell you what, man, it's been really cool to see what you guys have done and what you talk about. It's like, it doesn't cost a dime to be nice to people. That's kind of like, people were nice to me. People showed me the ropes. People, I followed in someone else's trail. You know what I mean?
Right.
Why? Like I said, it doesn't cost a dime to be. I mean, I never understand why people would be any different, but they're out there.
This is true, sir. This is true. All right, so let's kind of get a little bit into the sports talk. We learned a little bit about Mark, but now let's talk a little bit about the team that we both kind of cover, and that's the Commanders. I kind of want to get your thoughts, your overall thoughts of the team. I know, and I hope I'm not spoiling anything. I saw you last week talking to Jason Wright.
Yeah,
very very lively conversation. I was ear hustling, as the as the old folks like to say. Great job on that, by the way. But just kind of give us your insight on the team as a whole. Where do you see him? You don't have to give a prediction, but ceiling, low. What are your thoughts on the team?
Well, obviously, I think, Darrell, with you being up there, I mean, I think we all felt that the attitude was totally different. I mean, it was more loose, free, happy, and you mentioned the interview we got a chance to do with Jason Wright. And I mean, you could kind of, hear the genuine relief in his voice too, The one thing I would say that I think to caution Commanders fans is that, hey, I think it's the right track right now. This is a great step in getting a new person at the top who the players say they get a feeling from that he's going to give them everything they need to succeed. I mean, we talked to some players after practice, and you may have been a part of this. Mm-hmm. They said they had never even met Dan Snyder,
That's insane. That's insane.
Crazy, right?
That's
and
insane.
Then, but Josh Harris meets with the whole team. I think Mitch Rails did too, and got a chance to answer their questions and talk to the guys and everything like that. So it starts it off so solid. And, so I think it's a great first step, right? But I think we got to caution everybody. This may also not be the flip of a switch where you're going to be 13-4 this season, you know? Maybe, I don't know. But it's not that's not a quick fix, right? So I think it's a great start. Are they going to make the playoffs? Maybe. Are they going to win the division? I still think Philly and Dallas may be a little bit ahead of them talent-wise.
Right.
And the Giants, I think, are kind of hit or miss every single year. Who knows? That's why they play. How many times do we have those surprise teams, right? Every year.
Yeah, it's somebody that
every year there's one or two of them, right? So, will that be them this year? Could be. A lot of it depends on Sam Howell, we have a very small sample size of what he can do. He's looked good and bad at different parts of camp that I've seen anyway.
Yes.
So I think just kind of getting in and getting a feel. It's also year 4 for Ron Rivera, right? How crucial does it make his job? Everybody's kind of auditioning for the new owners now. So what's that going to look like? So I think they're going to be a strong team. I think they're going to be better than average. How will that look once they take the field? And how will that look, as it stacks up to the other NFC East teams? I think that's a big question mark. So, yeah.
Yeah. And, it's piggyback a little bit off what you said. That surprise team last year was the Giants,
Yep.
Nobody saw that. I know I didn't. I had them going 4-13. I'm just going to be as honest with you as possible. And so I did. I was like, there's no way they're going to win the game, but they played well. They all did a really good job. The other thing about this team, or what I've noticed over the last couple of weeks, is the change in Ron Rivera. He is the happiest I've seen him since I've covered this team. And I promise you, he goes to every press conference, during, last year before, he'll come in the press, he came in with a frown. Even in wins, he just didn't seem happy.
Yep.
Because he knew in the back of his mind he had to answer some question about ownership or something that went wrong this way. And it was almost, I'm not going to say he was the owner at times, but it almost felt like he had the burden of whatever the owner was doing just square on his shoulders. This since Eric Benjamin came in there, he has had the biggest. He'll go to every press conference hey guys, what we talking about today? I'm like, look at the energy of this. Where was this? But we understand why. I mean, it was just totally gone. It was being sucked out of him. But you made that point with Jason. They all are happy and they're all smiling. They're so relieved that it's done, and they've got a new path to start on. I like everything I'm seeing. The fans are energetic. I love that part. I think the other big thing for me is with this team defensively, I feel like they have a chance to be special. The depth at the defensive line and the defensive back position says, man, they could be really good. Linebackers, we'll see. But everything else looks so good, and they've got so much depth all the way around. I'm excited about this team. Mm-hmm. I don't want to get overly like, man, they going 13-4, 12-5, which I'm still getting used to doing those numbers. Right. But it's just like I'm not getting to that point yet. Then I'm gonna be like, yeah, man, that's what's happening. But the optimism is there, and so Cleveland will get a chance to see a little, maybe a sample size on Friday of what that's going on there. So.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, and how I'm kind of like also piggybacking off what you said. How many times we're like, hey, what's next? Right. What's the next report that comes out? What's going to happen now? What off the field trouble? So you're exactly right. I think there's a feeling that those days might be behind them, which is very nice. And same with you. I'm still getting used to adding 17 in my head when I come up with a win total. And
look, just imagine they're probably going to add 18 in 2 years, and it really messes up. I'm like,
stop
all right,
doing this to me.
We guys are 12-6 this year. Yes. Yep. Well, and look, man, we both are optimistic about the Commanders, and Commanders fans. I know, the ones that are listening. It's okay to be optimistic.
Yeah.
They got sellout crowds. I think they said they were really close to selling out the first game. I expected to be rocking and rolling in there. They got Arizona a little bit of a cupcake, I think, personally in that first game. So who knows? But they could get off to a great start.
Well, and hey, what it may do at the very least is get more of your fans than the other team's fans in there. I think that's huge. I mean, I think with the new ownership, you're going to see a lot of people come back.
Right.
Well, I mean, look at training camp, right? What was training camp like the last few years in terms of fan attendance? It was like it was so just
it was like 5 people out there, literally. It was probably like 8 or 10 people.
Wait, I have to double check. Is this open to fans? Is this open to fans right now?
Yeah.
I gotta look. This was open to fans.
Yeah.
This was open to fans.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the first 2 days, wow, probably 3,000-4,000. Then you get that first Saturday where it was close to 10. Holy cow.
Man, I mean, so many people.
And like you said, the energy they brought was fantastic. So this is from the top down all the way to the fan base. Everybody's feeling this, and that's exciting. This is going to be a very fun year.
I told somebody, win, lose, or draw this season, you've already won, and just you got the first step, and just enjoy it, and we'll go from there. Who knows? They may be, they may be the Washington Redskins next year. Who knows?
You never know.
Yeah, you never know. That name changes out there. All right, our last topic before we move to quick ones, we got to talk about our Seattle Mariners. I'm going to say this as a precautionary. I normally don't like to do this. Every time I get on the air and I talk about the Mariners, they find a way to disappoint me. So I'm going to try to keep this.
So what are we doing?
I don't know. I don't know what we're doing here, Mark. I don't know what we're doing here. So I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm one of those guys that, and this is all on purpose. I pay attention to them a lot, but I try my best not to at the same time, if that makes sense. So the last time I was truly paying attention, because I'll see scores. I'm like, all right, we're winning. We're doing. I'll peek in. I'm like, we're looking good. I'll peek away. And then we're winning. And all of a sudden, we were like 50-50. That was the last time I was like really like each game I was paying attention. Well, things are a little bit different right now. The team is sitting at 59-52. They are 3 games out of the wild card. What are your thoughts on this team right now? I mean, we finally made the playoffs, and I say we because we bleed hard on it. We finally made the playoffs last year. Got a series win. Probably should have beat Houston. Probably should have beat Houston in that series, but I digress. What are your thoughts on the current team? Do you think they make another playoff run, get into the playoffs this year, or is it a little far-fetched?
I think it's possible. I mean, like it's certainly they're last year we saw them, go on that 14-game winning streak and really kind of catch fire there. It kind of has that same feeling right now. Mm-hmm. my frustration is stop starting so slow,
Yes.
Stop starting so slow. Stop digging this hole. They were talking about maybe being ready to win the division this year. And obviously Texas has been all world and, caught on fire. So they've been very, very good. But
they signed everybody. Everybody.
It's yeah. I mean, the slow starts. And the other thing is the strikeouts. I mean, they got to get those strikeout numbers down too, because, I was psyched with the Teoscar Hernandez signing, or trade rather. But, I mean, he just strikes out way too darn much. You know what I mean? Suarez can be a great hitter, strikes out too much. Julio, sophomore slump. That guy looks lost at the plate sometimes.
What is going on? I was like,
yeah.
And people were like, I had people tell me, well, why did you pay him? I said, look, it's better to pay him now, knowing the potential and not having to overpay for him. And you can say it's overpay now, but I think they did it the right way. Pay him a nice little lump sum now. See how it goes. Worst case scenario, if it does dud out, well, we paid him, but we still paid him under the value of what he could have been.
Well, and I'm not worried about him being stuck here or anything like that. People are pitching him differently than they did last year. It's fine. He'll adjust. He'll be fine. But he just looks so lost up there sometimes. So now it feels like, everyone's kind of starting to get back into a rhythm a little bit. Going for the sweep of the Angels as we're recording this. Yeah, right, exactly.
Let's go.
But man, that's my squad that's my team of teams, So this is a nice change after experiencing those $100 million payroll teams that lost 100 games and all that stuff earlier this century, So yeah, do I think they could do it? I do think they could make the playoffs. I mean, win 2 or 3, keep winning series, keep knocking them off, and see where it comes. Everyone who is ahead of you, except Toronto, who you just won a series against, you play. So, you have a good chance to get out there and beat some good teams and make a move. So keep it up,
We'll see. Like I said, we're going to leave it at that. Why? Because we don't want to jinx it. Not going.
Right.
Go ahead and knock on.
I too am knocking.
Yep. Y'all knocking, looking. So, it's not often. It's not often. I think that's another big reason why me and Mark connected. A lot of people, there's not a lot of Mariners fans in Virginia.
We're the only 2 east of the Mississippi.
We're the only 2 east of the Mississippi. I'll walk around and I'll see somebody with a Mariners hat. I'm like, go M's? And they'd be like,
nah, man, I just like the hat.
It drives me insane. I'm like, come on. I'm like, I said, but it's all good. It makes sense for being on this side of town. So
we don't even need you guys. You
don't even put the hat on. I mean, don't
cheer for whoever you're cheering. Yeah, right.
Yeah, man. Go put a Braves hat on. It makes sense in this area. Go put the Washington Nationals hat on. Whatever, just whatever. All right. So that was it for our first segment. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the Marc Davis version of Quick Ones. Are you ready, Mark, for the Marc Davis version of Quick Ones? Are you ready?
Ready as I'll ever be, big man.
All right, let's do it. Everybody off with the same couple. I started everybody off with the same couple because I just intrigued to see where it kind of goes from there. So let's see. Mark, what is your favorite sports moment?
Favorite sports moment, 1995 ALDS, Seattle Mariners, New York Yankees in the Kingdome. Edgar Martinez hits the double to left, scoring Ken Griffey to win the playoff series.
Oh, my God, Edgar. I love Edgar Martinez.
Griffey at the bottom of that pile with that big smile on his face.
Oh, my goodness. I remember I watched it I think it was last year when they finally made the playoffs again. They played it on MLB. TV, and I watched it and I just smiled the whole time. It just made me happy. I remember watching that game and I was probably 10, 11. And I remember watching it just being like, oh my God, we won. And then, of course, not going further than that, but that's okay.
Well, hey, real quick, that hit saved baseball in Seattle, because if that not happened, they wouldn't have gotten the new stadium.
Right.
They would have moved to Tampa, and that would have been it. So that hit saved baseball in Seattle. I'm
so glad that didn't happen, because I don't the Tampa Bay Mariners. I don't know how I feel about that.
Right
on. Next one, and I hate to do this to you, but the worst sports moment.
Worst sports moment for me?
It could be for you. It could be for one of your teams. Any of that.
I think the worst sports moment was probably the Wednesday and Thursday of COVID. Where everything was dropping like flies. We were in Brooklyn covering the A-10 tournament, and I remember VCU and UMass were warming up They came off the court to do the national anthem, and they just made an announcement: A10 tournaments canceled. Drive home safe, everybody.
Drive home safe, everyone. And you know, the other crazy thing about it was, I was sending one of my people up there. They were about to get on the train, and I told them, I said, "Look, I don't know if it's a good idea right now for you to go get on that train. I hate for you to go spend the money, but I also want you to be safe."
Right.
You know, so I say it's completely up to you if you decide to go or not to go. And, you know, it was a big disappointment. They ended up getting a chance to go to once we got everything back to normal again. But it was still like, so you could tell it was a tough time. But yes, I agree. But if it wasn't for that, I started this show because of COVID. It was like everybody was in the house. We've got to talk sports in some form.
Silver lining, baby. That's awesome.
we can't let sports die. So it was definitely tough times. But hey, we're past those times, and I hope to keep things rocking and rolling.
Yep.
All right, here's a fun one. All right, we got the fun ones coming up. Greatest Mariner of all time. I know it's Mariners, but who's the greatest Mariner of all time for you?
Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, I
mean, I just wanted to hear it.
I wish I could, have some nifty answer with a nifty explanation, but I don't. It's Ken Griffey.
Harold Reynolds. Like, what? Really?
Yeah. Willie Bloomquist. Yeah, right. And here's why.
It's like, who you got in there, man? I don't know, man. Mike Cameron. Mike Cameron? Like.
Although Mike Cameron, hitting 4 home runs in a game was pretty cool.
Is he still the last one that done it, or somebody else did it before?
I think so. I can't say for sure, but I think so. I know only like 18 guys have done it ever. And actually, Mike Cameron's son is now on the Tides. So it was kind of cool. Me and 2 of our kids and my fiance went to the game last night. It was a doubleheader, and we saw Daz Cameron in center field making some very Mike Cameron-esque plays. So the apple does not fall far. Blah. I'm gonna try that.
I know what you were saying.
That apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
now the Tides are the Mets organization, correct?
Orioles now.
So but it used to be okay.
Correct.
Man, the Orioles farm system is crazy good. That's why they're so good right now.
Well, and they kept it intact too at the trade deadline, even which was also impressive.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
All right. So the next fun one here. Where's the best restaurant you've ever ate at? Was like just love the food. Just love the food. What's the best restaurant you ever ate at? Tough one, I know.
No, this is good. So I'm a steak guy. Like steak's awesome. Like it's the best. I want to say the best restaurant. It's not that I can't think of any. It's that I'm trying to figure out which one
is the best.
Best.
Well, take whatever the first one that comes to your mind, steak wise, that you absolutely love. We could go there with it. We can go there with it.
Let's see. El Gaucho in Seattle was excellent. Let's see here. I had a really good steak. There's a restaurant called the Log Cabin up where I grew up in Pennsylvania. It's kind of a fancier place that my parents took me to. That might be the best restaurant I've ever eaten at. But I'm a red meat person, right? So, but you know what? I am going to say this. I'm going to go. I know it now. I'm going to say Pappy's Barbecue in St. Louis. I went there with my cousins, and just the brisket there was just
amazing.
I mean, so yeah. I mean, I know I jumped around a lot there.
No, it's all good. It makes me hungry just thinking about it.
I was more thinking aloud.
I will say this. The best steak I ever had was in Arkansas. So I was doing Walmart commercials at the time. Well, and I had went down there to do tracks. At this time, I was doing training videos. So I was going there doing training videos for the company. And so when I went down there, the guy who used to tour me around, my man Ken Everett, Ken, I hope everything's going well, brother. So Ken was like, "Hey man, let's go to a good steak place." I'm like, "All right, Ken." He took me to a couple while we were there. He's like, "I'm gonna take you to the best one you've ever been to." So we're in Arkansas now. So he drives us to this secluded spot. I was like, bro, where are we going? So we're driving around, and it's like a little house, and it's kind of cut into the woods, but it's like there's cars out there. I'm like, that is packed out here. He said, "You're about to have the best steak you've ever had in your life." So we go in there and sit down. Now me not knowing proper steak etiquette, I went in there like, hey, do y'all have steak sauce? He said, whoa there, buddy.
Whoa.
He said, I got to tell this story because it's because of him that I learned true steak etiquette. He said, Darrell, what are you doing? What are you doing? I said, I like steak sauce. I said, He said, no. First of all, you try the steak first. He said, you can tell the greatness in the steak by trying it without the sauce. Then you can go. He said, if you want to do sauce after that, that's fine. He said, but you got to go without the sauce first.
The chef who cooked that steak would rather you insult his mother.
Exactly.
Than ask for steak sauce.
And that's the kind of sentiment that he told me. So I said, okay, well, I was a big ribeye person. I said, go ahead, throw the ribeye out. So he gives me a ribeye. It is the best steak I've ever had. It was so tender. And he's like, so I'm starting to eat it. He's like, it got towards the end. He said, you still putting that steak sauce on there? I said, no, we good. We good. And I ain't putting no steak sauce on there. So now
you're lucky they still served you, man.
I know. I'm glad the waitress gave me a dirty look too, but I learned my lesson, and that was back in like 2000. That was like 2012-ish. But I'll never forget it. It was if I ever go back, I'm like, hey, Ken, man, I need you to find the steak place again. We got to go. So
yep,
I had to throw that in there. Now the last one on quick ones, and this is the follow up your restaurant thing.
Okay.
All right. So you're going to dinner at your favorite restaurant. You can take 3 Mariners with you to dinner. Who are you taking with you to dinner?
Griffey has to be on there.
Most definitely, yeah.
You can, have a meal with the kid. I think you'd almost have to go Ichiro because, fantastic, and you just love to be able to kind of pick his brain on certain things.
Right.
The third one, there are a couple finalists for that, but it may be
tough. I know. I knew it was gonna mess with you. I was like, I'm gonna hit him with hard with it.
It might be Felix Hernandez. Because
okay.
there was a personality but good pitcher there. You know what I mean? So it could do that. But you could take Buhner for the sense of humor.
Right.
You could pick Edgar Martinez brain if you wanted to about being the best hitter one of the best hitters of all time.
Yes.
Brett Boone would be cool because but probably Griffey, Ichiro, and Felix, I think. Because it's also kind of one of the best players from each of the generation.
That's smart.
Obviously, Randy Johnson you could do too. I think those 3 would be it.
So I'll give you mine. So one, obviously Griffey. I mean,
right
now Griffey's my number 1, but Edgar's my number 2. So I gotta have Griffey and Edgar. And from that point, like you said, it kind of gets a little tough. I want to throw Randy in there because I was so fascinated by Randy Johnson growing up.
Yep.
When he got traded to Arizona, to this day, I was just like, I'm glad he got a ring. I'm so glad he got a ring because I felt like he deserved it. But man, that thing broke my heart. And until this day, I'm like, man, so
what are you doing?
I would say Randy Ishiro's in that mix. And like I said, and I would probably also throw Felix. Buhner is very intriguing on that one too. Maybe even Tino Martinez.
Yeah.
I think I would probably end up going with Randy. And it's only because I was such a big Randy Johnson guy, man. And I just was like, and they're the reason why I became a Mariners fan. Griffey being number 1, but I fell in love with the team.
Yep.
And I think I would just love to be able to sit down and be like, hey guys, thank you for everything.
Yeah.
I'm saying, even though it's been a rough ride from time to time, but without you, I wouldn't be the fan that I am for Seattle. So
I'm a 42-year-old man who wears his hat backwards still, and because I started it when I was like 10 years old because of Griffin.
Thank you, Ken.
And everyone's, I know I get the social media comments. They're like, oh, nobody over 13 years old should wear his hat, but yeah, whatever.
I mean, you must not know Ken Griffey Jr. Then.
Like, are you against fun? I mean, like,
why are you the fun police? This is insane.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
yep.
I mean, so for me, it's a tough ride, but I think that's where I would go, man. And you know what? As a wild card, I probably throw Lou Piniella in there. And I know he's not a player.
But
Piniella
that's a good one. That's a curveball. That's a good one.
Yeah. But Piniella would probably be really fun to have a conversation
Sweet
with.
Lou, man. Yeah, I like where your head's at. That's a good one.
It would probably be a good one. And this is the last thing I'll throw, and then we'll go to our last segment here. The movie not Rookie of the Year, Little Big League. when the Twins end up taking on the Mariners at the end of the game, I had never thought bad guy Ken Griffey Jr. and bad guy Randy Johnson would be so fun to watch. And even though they won the game in the movie, I was a little sad because it's one of my favorite baseball movies of all time. But that is one of the reasons, because our guys were in that movie. So
yeah. No doubt. No doubt.
All right, everybody. That was it for the Marc Davis version of Quick Ones here on One on One. We're going to finish this bad boy off with Leave Your Legacy. Before we get into this final piece, Mark, once again, brother, thank you for coming on, spending at this time about 39 minutes or 40 minutes.
Oh, man.
We've had an absolute ball. I really appreciate you coming on, brother.
Don't mention it, because this was awesome. And I really just, enjoyed Darrell sitting down, just talking sports and about the business. And this was great. I really appreciate you having me on. The pleasure's mine, my friend.
Man, well, it's been an absolute pleasure. Let's go ahead and finish it off right. So now, Mark, when it's all said and done, you're sitting on the beach. I don't know. What's your drink of choice? What's your drink of choice?
I'm usually a beer guy.
Beer guy. So you're on the beach. You're drinking it. You got a 6-pack beside you. You're relaxing. It's good times. And you hung up the mic. You put the camera down. What type of legacy do you want to leave behind? What do you want people to know about Marc Davis? Maybe not whatever, but what do you want people to know about Marc Davis when you walk away and you're retired?
I think, this is kind of the first one's kind of a cop out here, but it's a guy who did things the right way, integrity. I've in our business, I say all the time, question my decision-making, that's what you do in a subjective business,
right.
Question my decision-making. But I hope nobody ever questions my ethics or my work ethic. Those are two things that I hope are untouched. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I kind of pride myself on those two things. Like I said, you can think I did something wrong or covered something wrong or you would have covered something differently than I would have. That's fine. That comes with the territory. Right. But I hope it's that I did things the right way, had a strong work ethic, and was always an ethical person and professional. I also hope that he left his community better than he found it, awesome. Be it through my stories or bringing awareness to certain things or, whatever the case may be, exposing the good people are doing in our community. I'd like to leave my community better than I found it. And we live in a great community, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But that's definitely, that's more important than any sort of award or accolade or anything like that could come across my desk. Those things are nice, but they just really never, meant that much to me, if that
right.
makes sense.
No, it makes sense.
It's more to me about what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis, just to be an honorable person and professional. So that's what I hope my legacy is. When all is said and done, and the way the business is going, I hope I get to determine when all is said and done.
Right.
You really know.
Yeah, I can understand that.
I think that would be the most important thing to me.
That's awesome, man. I love it. I love every bit of it, man. I couldn't agree with you more. Just sitting there listening to it. I think that's the biggest thing. If you being able to, have people say, man, God did a really good job, did it the right way, respect. Maybe even get on Kurt Autry level and, be the master. The master on social. Everybody loves Kurt. Everybody loves Kurt.
Tell you what, Kurt's social. Like I said, I haven't worked there in almost 2 years, but I still keep my eye on Kurt's Facebook page. I think we all do.
I'm telling you, man. Hey, if you need a good laugh, I'm telling you right now, Kurt's gonna have you like. Maybe one day we could get on Kurt level and just have the masses laughing continuously. It's a great deal. Well, all right, everybody. Look, if you haven't checked out Mark, let everybody know where they can find you, where you are, and tell them where they can check in on Marc Davis.
Sure. So Twitter, Instagram, I'm Marc Davis Sports, Mark with a C, as you see at the bottom of your screen there. So Marc Davis Sports on Twitter and Instagram. I think I'm Marc Davis Sports on Facebook too. I should check. But I'm updating those things quite frequently. So that, and then 5:30 and 11 on WTKR News 3. This Friday night at 11, if you're in the Hampton Roads area, I'm sorry, at 10:30, we're airing the Commanders-Browns game at 7:30. Right after that, Zach and I have Commanders kickoff, a 30-minute special that we're going to get everybody caught up on, which is where you can see a big portion of that Jason Wright interview too. So check that out too. But yeah, social media, hit me up, just say hello, whatever the case may be, story ideas. We're trying to get everything out there. So don't be afraid to say hi and hit me up.
One of the best in the game, ladies and gentlemen. I don't say that lightly. I truly look up to this guy, one of the best. He's all, like I said earlier, always been kind, but always a consummate professional. Our man Marc Davis here on 101, episode 102. On the next episode of 102, like I said, won't be next week, will be the following week on the 20th, the day before the Commanders-Ravens contest. We will have my man Kyle Nash of the Student of the Game podcast and the 3-point conversion. He will be on here for that episode. Once again, everybody, thank you for tuning in. We truly appreciate you for coming on 101 and always being a part of it. We got the Power Rankings version of 101 starting up when the season comes, so be ready. We'll be doing our Power Rankings each week. I'm Darrell Owens with the legendary Marc Davis. We will see you all next time.
Legacy Maker, the All Sports Network.
Welcome to the 101. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the